Hey, this is Joel with American Giants. I thought today's video would be about some interesting history on a few smaller figures we don't talk about. But it's a good time to do a video. We got a lot going on in the Muffler Man world. March just went up in Norble. Congratulations to those of you who live there. And it's almost a neighbor for the American Giants Museum, another Unirail going up in Illinois. There actually used to be a gal in Bloomington, Normal area back in the 60s, an original, probably the one that's in Peoria today. But it was super fun to see all the pictures coming out of Normal yesterday as she went up. But today I wanted to talk about two figures that are not super well known, but are really cool. And I've run across these in my years of research. And one of them is a chicken. It's actually a car topper. And it has history that originates up in Sparta, Wisconsin. A lot of you have written and talked to me about Sparta. Fast Fiberglass. I've actually been there. A few years ago I went there, took a bunch of pictures, walked around. They were one of the few companies that open their grounds to you and let you come and look at their mold yard, which is a fascinating experience. They have both new and very old molds that you can see in the yard. But I want to focus today on some chickens that they made back when they were an entirely different company. And they made all kinds of roadside giants, cows, all kinds of animals, figures. They didn't make the Muffler Man, although they did get their hands on them, we think, and made a few alterations or different versions, although they didn't come up with that design. But they made a lot of fiberglass animals that you still see on the roadsides today. Over time, sculptured advertising became creative displays, and then eventually fast fiberglass, which is what we all know of in Sparta today. And they continue to make the same very interesting, very colorful roadside giants that dot our commercial landscape. So again, with the help of Josh Sanders, who's a real expert on history of sculptured advertising, I was able to get some information from him about these chickens. And they started out in 1965. They made two different versions. They made a 12-foot and a 6-foot version. And both of them were not car toppers originally. They were just regular chickens. They were designed by Sculptured Advertising, and they originated around 1965, the same time all the Muffler Men were starting to pour out of International Fiberglass in Venice, California. Then we travel down to the early 1970s, and there is a guy in Kentucky named Paul White. And Paul White was also into fiberglass, and he got different figures that were made by other companies and kind of had his own business. So he got like an 8-foot rooster from International Fiberglass. He had his hands on the big pink elephants we see still today. He got his hands even on a Luke Lombard that has connections to the one in Morton's Gap that we restored in 2015. So he was he got his hands on just about everything he could grab, and he had his own fiberglass business, and he would make molds and so on in Kentucky. So it is believed that he got his hands on one of these Sculptured Advertising roosters, the 6-foot version, in the early 70s, and he started making not only copies, but he modified it and started doing this car topper design so you could make essentially a chicken car. There's no proof of direct business connection between Sculptured Advertising and Paul White. There's no invoices or factory records, but the timeline and the style seem to fit perfectly. So he took this chicken, split it in two pieces, basically. The head went on the roof of the car, and the tail of the chicken went on the trunk. And then with painting of the car and the chicken, you suddenly have a chicken car. Now around the same time in Decatur, Illinois, you have a guy named Bill Krekel. And Bill Krekel was running a small empire of burger stands called Krekel's Custard. And he was already famous for his thin, crispy Krekel burgers, but he wanted something unforgettable to advertise his restaurants. So he ordered 4 chicken car kits from Paul White down in Kentucky, one for each of his Decatur locations. Now the cars were all Cadillac Brahms, painted with red and white stripes and black speckles to look like chicken feathers. Locals started calling Krekel the Chicken Man, and it wasn't long, of course, they started calling the cars chicken cars. Now today, only 2 of the original 4 Krekel chicken cars survive, both built from 1993 Cadillac Brahms. What Paul or Bill were putting the chickens on back in the 70s, I'm not exactly sure, but the Cadillacs that these chickens are on today are 1993 Brahms. In the 1970s, an Indianapolis entrepreneur named Orville loved the idea and ran with it. He created the Indianapolis Chicken Limo, a party-top car with a chicken wearing a top hat. Ducky's company Love Rent-A-Bent car rented all sorts of wacky vehicles, some topped with pigs, clowns, ducks, and of course chickens. The tradition lives on today with a bright yellow chicken limo that still cruises around Indianapolis. Now let's talk about one other interesting figure known as Harvey the Seal. In the 1960s, Harbie Oil and Harbor Gas, a chain of gas stations in Southern California, they also needed a mascot, and they were noticing all the other fiberglass mascots. Actually, they preceded many of them. So they created Harvey the Seal, a friendly cartoon-like fiberglass seal holding a lantern in one flipper and a sponge in the other. Harbie was designed to be cheerful and helpful and the perfect symbol of a clean, friendly service. These statues stood at Harbor gas stations across Los Angeles and Orange County, and one even sat proudly on top of the company's headquarters in San Gabriel, California. When Harbie Oil eventually merged or was bought out in the 1970s, the stations closed, but the statues lived on. Many Harbie figures were rescued and moved to new homes. Today, collectors and roadside fans treat them as rare relics of mid-century design. You can still find some Harbies standing in private yards, museums, nostalgic old gas stations, still with the lantern and the rock he stood on, although some have lost those items over the years. My friend Jeff Kunkel at Vintage Roadside loves these Harbie guys, and ever since I've known him, it seems like every year he's telling me about a new Harbie he found. So we have these really two unique fiberglass figures, very different. Neither of them international fiberglass, but both of them happen to be up for sale, so I thought it would be a good time to combine the two and talk about their history. The chicken, as I said, has really close ties to the Morton's Gap Muffler Man. This was all kind of had connections to Paul White in Kentucky, and Paul White did business with Robert and Michael, or James Michael Ladd. I've talked to the Ladds. I talked to him years ago. He's since passed, but I've been in connection with his son, who recently called me and said that they're clearing out the estate, and they were looking for good homes for the chickens. He had an 8-foot chicken. These came from International Fiberglass, although this is definitely a Paul White chicken. It's one he made. The other one was one of the rare chicken car toppers. And so I got the 8-foot. I'm hoping that it will soon show up at the American Giants Museum. I've always wanted one of these roosters, and I finally found one. Thank you to John. Thank you. But I didn't really need the chicken car topper, but I wanted to get a good home, and I wanted to get restored and hopefully back on a car. And so the best way to make that happen quickly, I thought, would be to find a buyer for it, find a new home for it. Now, this is actually even rarer because it's one of the top hat versions. These chicken cars, the chickens mostly had no hat. They were just the chicken or the rooster, but they made a few versions that had the top hat, and this happens to be one of those. So it's currently at Regiant in all its glory. It's ready for restoration and ready for a new home. We'd love to find it a new home, and I just think it's super cool, although I don't have use for it in the museum myself. And then when it comes to Harvey the Seal, that happened recently on a trip to go see Tico. I took him and delivered a Taco Bell boy for him that Mark Kleiman had restored. This is an original Taco Bell boy. And while I was there, Tico took me all around and showed me his place. Once again, it's always fun to visit Tico and hang out, and he had a lot of new stuff and all kinds of interesting things to look at, and one of those was a Harvey seal. So I thought it would be a good idea today to talk about the history of Harbie and then offer Tico's for sale. He's also looking for a good home. And so if you're interested in either of these or have any questions about them and their history, reach out to me in the usual way. I'll put them on the website just like we do with the Big Muffler Men, and then I'll put my email here, and you can also email me for an offer. You make offers separately. They're being sold separately. We'll do the normal run of 2 weeks on these and see if we can find a good location for them. If you're interested, again, reach out. I'll answer any questions you have, send you more pictures, whatever you need. It's always fun to talk about history on some of these lesser known fiberglass figures.